Well, Ashley, thanks for joining me this evening, Sunday evening, as we are just after the Oldham game. Fantastic victory there against Oldham there yesterday on Saturday afternoon. I know you weren't at the game, but you were able to watch the stream. Just what did you think about the performance, especially the second half?
Yeah, it was good, Jordan. Like I say, first half we completed well. Could have been better, but second half was unbelievable from the lads. It's nice to see Lockie and Callum finally get a full game together and link up, and it was good. They played well. Completion rate was good. Just a really well-rounded performance, I thought. And I think we're starting to see Nick Al come into his own now with his kicking game, producing a lot of the tries from his kicks, forcing errors, and he was good, mate. Really good. Happy with him.
Yeah, especially considering we've gone in the game on a couple of defeats, and we both know Charlo wasn't happy with the Bradford game. You said about their tries coming more or less from our errors. So to put that right and then score 30 unanswered points in the second half, it was the best way to go about it.
Yeah, it was. Like you say, Charlo was not a happy chappy after Bradford, but they've worked on it all week, and it's like you said, it's them 1%ers, the little things that they know they're doing wrong, but they put it right yesterday, and I think everybody can come away with their heads held high with the performance they put in.
So we're speaking this evening within your role as the football committee. I mean, it's been mentioned more and more over the last 18 months. So before we look into the other aspects we're going to talk about this evening, what is the football committee and what's your role within that?
So yeah, I came on in about October, December time. I think I joined. Myself, Charlo, John D and Mark Stamper at the football committee. Basically, we're mainly the recruitment side of it, but we do other stuff as well that, looking after player welfare and making sure the lads are all right. It's mainly the recruitment side of it. And I came on and I got a deal with us to an agent in Australia, Bryce Poisel, player locker. He provided Lockie and Nico, and then, just looking around in Australia for lads, and got Kingy. And then we've done a couple of deals over here with players, James Weir that we brought in, Thornley, Ronnie, Liam Cooper, Dean Zamed. We brought a squad in that we knew it was going to have to be big this year because of the time the lads had off and they were going to get knocks. And I think bringing in a squad of 30, it's proved well because the knocks we've got and, people that's had to retire, due to work. And it's proved a good decision to go with a bigger squad. And, it's worked well for us in our favour up to now.
And I think we've mentioned in previous features we've done, Andrew Canavan's mentioned it quite a lot, that Barrow used 10 props when they were last in this division, and that was without having time off for COVID, and lads hadn't played in 13 and 14 months. And we know from our previous experiences in the Championship that it is what a division it can be, and what a competitive division. So you do need to make sure you've got the bodies there to compete week in, week out. And so far, we've mentioned, and one thing we will discuss is the injuries we're currently facing, and that's the situation that we've got there at the moment. But we're already into using probably all of them 30 players already, if not more, bringing the likes of Aidan and Ronan in on loan there as well. So you four in the football committee have been busy.
Yeah, it was a busy off season. It started well before then. We'd Mark, Charlo and Jonty, they were looking for him sort of April time, and we spoke to Lockie and Nick for a lot longer before them to come. I think it was 3, 4, 5 months in the making them deals. Same with Kingy. It was a long process, the off season, but it's proven to be it was a good off season. You know what I mean? It's one of them that it needed done, but obviously we didn't know with the situation with COVID if we would start back up again, what the situation with the league, who was going to be competing in it, whether this cup competition they spoke about was going to take place, but it's all turned out well in the end.
So as you've mentioned, you had the likes of you had a hand in bringing Lockie in and Nico and Kingy. So how did you essentially get that relationship with Bryce, and where did that come from?
It was through a lad I work with. He was playing for White, Ryan Campbell. He's very good friends with Bryce, and I've mentioned that to Ryan that we were looking for a halfback. I think it was no secret that we were looking for a halfback.
No.
And he said, give him a message, Bryce. So he put me in touch with him and got talking to Bryce, and he's got some good clients down in Australia. Sadly, I couldn't tempt over Todd Carney or Ben Black. They were out of our price range, but he had Nico, and and Lockie, and two really good lads as they're proven on the pitch. You know, Lockie seems to be the find of the season so far, I think.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, he was probably. Looking at Lockie's videos, he was comfortable at fullback and probably was destined for that fullback before Greg became available. And obviously, Greg being obviously one of the star signing for ourselves there as well. But obviously, with Greg being injured, he's obviously slotted into that fullback role really well and seems safe as houses in that number one berth.
Yeah, I mean, when we spoke to Bryce about Lockie, Bryce said he's a fullback, but he'll play anywhere in the back line. He'll play wing, centre, play a halfback if we need him to. But like you say, his utility value has been good for us. It's unfortunate Greg getting injured, but when we spoke to some guys in Australia about Lockie, they're quite amazed we got him, really. Same with Kingy, they were quite amazed we got him because of how highly rated they were in Australia.
So, I mean, we're going to move it on now and discuss our main topic, which is unfortunately our extensive injury list at the moment. As we mentioned, we've needed the big squad so far, especially early on in this season. We'll go through them in squad order, and this is just squad number order. So we'll start. We mentioned Greg there. Greg pulled up a couple of weeks ago in training, I believe, and is just waiting for some news on that.
Yeah, he's been doing some work in the cryo chamber in Leigh. He's about 2 to 4 weeks away before we'll get Greg back. If he's back any sooner, great, but go on what the physios and stuff are saying, it'd be about 2 to 4 weeks for Greg. It's all rehab based now for him.
What was the specific injury? Because he didn't seem to be much at the time. When he said at training, he was still hoping to play, but got a bit more extensive than the first thought.
I think it was a strain in his quad, and like I say, it's all down rehab based for Greg now. But hopefully we'll see him back sooner than what we're being told. But I can't see it, Paul.
Next on, we'll just go. I think this one was, maybe more of a reoccurrence for Bully. He come off a half time on Saturday. He missed a game or two beforehand previously, and it seems to be a bit of a reoccurrence of a bit of an arm bicep area.
Yeah, I think it's his pec, but we won't know anything until we get Rachel's report back. That's due back. It's usually by late tonight or early tomorrow morning off Rachel. Hopefully it's nothing serious, but it's just a knock or something for him.
So, look forward. We'll cover two players here because they're both covering roughly the same position. Shaqs, and obviously we haven't seen a player we haven't seen yet. He's Kingy, Ryan King. He come over with a bit of an injury or just looking to do a bit of rehab. Talk about Shaqs first of all. Obviously he's been missing for a few weeks now.
Yeah, Shaqs he's got a knee problem. He's just waiting for his scan results back. It's one of them that it could be 3 weeks, it could be 3 months. We really don't know until he gets these scan results back. They're due back, I think, in a week's time, 2 weeks' time, something like that. And
Kingy, as I say, we haven't really seen him yet. What's sort of a lowdown?
Kingy's he had a little knee problem. He's now into his rehab. He's about 3 to 6 weeks away before we get to see Kingy. Hopefully it won't be. Like I say, he could be back quicker depending on how he reacts to his rehab. But it's looking like 3 to 6 weeks for Kingy.
And he come over, like he picked up the injury over in Australia and come over and has continued his rehab over there, I believe.
Yeah, the reason we brought Kingy over as early as we did, it's no big secret that obviously we left the Europe. So if we hadn't brought him when we did, the visa would have had to have been reapplied for, and it would have been a complete different story. Of we could have been still waiting for Kingy to come now. If we'd gone down that other visa route, we'd leave in Europe. So we had to bring him when we did. There's no secret in that. And
one might mention, well, why would Brexit, as we were leaving Europe? But Kingy, he's of Italian. He's got an Italian passport, so and he will be. Yeah. He's trying to get into that World Cup squad at the end of the year, as with a couple of others are as well within the squad. So obviously we didn't be coming over on the Italian passport. It was a race against time to get him over.
It was, yeah, it really was, and we managed to do it. So we're happy with that.
Couple of the next we'll look at is Brett Phillips. He's been missing for a few weeks, and Dion. Obviously, Dion's been walking on with that knee brace on. He's still being able to get around the fells, I've noticed. So hasn't been hampering too bad. But yeah, Brett and Dion. Yeah, Dion, he's in his rehab as well. Again, 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how his rehab comes on. Brett Phillips has got a wrist injury. We don't know how long Brett's going to be out for.
that's just a play by ear with Brett. It could be a week, it could be 6, it could be longer. We don't know. It's just, again, scans and then rehab. We honestly don't know with that one.
Next one is Connor. Connor come off with a head knock against the Bradford game. He did try and play on, but I think he got the best of him in the final there. So are we looking? Could he possibly be this week, or are we another couple of weeks with Connor?
Connor's got to miss 7 days automatically with the head knock, so that was the reason he didn't play Saturday. We're hoping he'll be okay for this week. If not, it should be the week after.
Another player who's come in, you mentioned earlier on, you'd managed to help bring in, was James Worthington. Now he played at the Featherstone game. I haven't seen him again since then. He didn't play against Bradford and didn't play last week. What's sort of the situation there with him?
Worthy got a knock on his bicep. Obviously he's just in his rehab as well. Hopefully he might be fit for the weekend. If not, probably Widnes. That's just a slight knock for Worthy. He'll be good.
Before we talk about the final player, which is Andy Thornley, I mean, we're noticing sort of these sort of muscle injuries more. I was mentioned Bully in his pec. Worthy, I think Chris Taylor's picked up a bang once or twice there as well. I think this is what we've seen, sort of lads with the no contact for 13, 14 months. I think that is where it's coming into it. There previously where maybe they picked up knocks and this is something they could have played through. The body's not used to being able to recover as quickly. And I think this is something with COVID, with them not playing. I think this is all throughout the league. I think we're seeing it more.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's like you say, it's just that getting used to. Obviously, when they play consecutive for years, the body's used to the hits, and like you say, it's a car crash, isn't it? Rugby league hits. It's like a 70-mile-an-hour car crash. Not playing for 12 months, your body sort of thinks, "So, what's this? He's not used to this," and just getting back to used to it for the lads. But like you say, Super League, NRL even picked up them injuries. NRL still getting bad injuries now. You see them every week. You got Sydney Roosters. They've lost 3, 4 serious knee injuries. So it's just that getting used to it again, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, they've lost a couple with retirements as well. I mean, with concussion knocks, I think Jake French springs to mind. Obviously, he was really only coming into the prime of his career. He'd started State of Origin last couple of years after being on the fringes and not quite getting selected for a number of years. And he's picked up one or two too many head knocks, and he's been forced to retire. It just shows you, as you said, the car crashes. They're not tackles. They are car crashes.
Yeah, it's a vicious sport at times.
It really is. And one person who's found it vicious, Andy Thornley. He'd come in. He decided, he wasn't going to stay in that full-time environment at Leigh. He was quite happy. He had his day job as he was. He didn't want to leave, and we were lucky enough to pick him up. And unfortunately, he picked up an injury in that first game at Widnes. He played again at Dewsbury, but knew something wasn't right, and he's out now for, unfortunately, it looks like in a sustained period.
Yeah, he's ruptured his bicep, as Andy. And speaking to him, he's never had a serious injury apart from a knee injury before. So he's absolutely devastated. It's looking like 3 to 4 months for Andy. So we might see him again this season, but we might not. He's had his operation. So it's just, going to his rehab now. And it's unfortunate for Andy because he's a top-end championship player. Who we thought would do a really good job for us on the edges, especially when we lost Dion early, knowing Kingy wasn't going to be available. And then we lose Andy, so we've had to bring Big Ronan in from Huddersfield, who's done a really good job these past 2 weeks. And, we'll speak to them and see if we can extend that even further.
Andy was at the game on Saturday, so I managed to speak to him, and he said I'm devastated. Just like you said, he's never had a big injury, especially that sort of area. So, but yet again, we said it's just the 13, 14 months of no contact. The body's thinking, what's going on, and where it may have been able to cope previously, it just hasn't been. So, you've mentioned there, Ronan. Obviously, he's had a big impact, and obviously, we've seen with the club social media wise as well. The Irish Times have done a big piece on him. Obviously, Ronan's story is a bit special, really. He hadn't played rugby league really until he's 17, and he was 3 years later. He'd made his Super League debut last year for Huddersfield against Wigan, and he'll be looking at bringing in, trying to cement a World Cup place for the Irish squad at the end of the year there as well.
Yeah, when Ronan became available, we got a message off his agent, Graham Taylor. We were really grateful that Graham got in touch with us and thought of us as a club, to have a lad of Ronan's quality recommended. He's unbelievable and shows how far we are coming on. Like you say, Ronan done full pre-season with the Canberra Raiders. COVID put a halt to that. He came back, made his debut in Super League, and Huddersfield just wanted to play, wanted to get minutes to him. Just couldn't see his improvement in the game. You know, like you say, he was a late starter, but you see him now, and he that first Super League game he played for Huddersfield against Wigan.
Yeah,
he absolutely ripped into them and battered Wigan. And then we've seen it here with us, you know, his carries, he's play the ball. The main thing that Jonty and Charlo really like about him is he's talking in defence. He's a massive talker, and it's good. He's helping the lads, you know, they're getting that encouragement from him as well. And obviously we brought young Aiden in from Wigan. You know, when we lost Callum, Daryl Goulding was really good to us. After a quick SOS call to our friend Steve McCormack, he put me in touch with Daryl, and Daryl said right away, "We've got a kid for you that'll come. He'll come for a month, and then we asked for another 2 a week. Hopefully we can extend that as well if Aiden's keen to stay and Wigan are for him to stay. But Aiden's been massive for us. He's been really good around that ruck, speeding up in his defence for a lad his size. He tackles twice his weight and his size. He really does bang people, and it's. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Aiden feature in Super League at some point. He's a really good kid, and he's really good off the field and settled in well with the lads.
Anyone who comes from that Wigan academy, you know, obviously, I mean, not everyone makes it at Wigan, you know, but obviously you see the amount of, you know, players that do come from Wigan and end up, you know, whether at lower Super League clubs or high-end Championship clubs, and right throughout the players within the Championship, most of them you'll say will have spent some sort of period at Wigan. So we all know it's a really good system for him to come from, for him to come through. And we've had players previously who've come through that system, and you know they've always done well, and they're always are professional. I say we're hoping Aiden can stay. Ronan was only initial 2 weeks. Are we looking to? I mean, is that going to look to be extended?
I'll need to speak with Charlo and Jonty. I think they're keen to extend it. It's obviously up to Huddersfield and Ronan. If they're happy to stay, you know, we're always happy to have him. He's a really good lad as well off the field.
Well, Ashley, thank you very much for giving up your Sunday evening. I'll let you go back and enjoy the rest of your night. But yeah, just a bit of an injury update. Obviously, we mentioned we've got quite an extensive injury list. Hopefully, we're not talking about it too far going on in there in the future. But thank you very much for your time this evening, and you enjoy. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Jordan. Thanks for that, pal.